Julio Castillo steal the show. That was awful, but what was not awful was the Seattle Mariners winning 5-1 today over the White Sox to begin the second leg of this long road trip. What is up? What is going on, everybody? Welcome back and welcome in to the Seattle Mariners post-game recap. The Mariners defeat the White Sox tonight 5-1. They improved to 27-19 on the season, back to a season high 8 games over 500, and they will remain in first place in the American League West. As always, before I go any further, do me a favor, like the video, helps out tremendously. Comment your thoughts on the team and the game down below. And I am now 300 subs shy of 5,000. Can we get that tonight? Probably unlikely, but I bet there's 300 people that aren't subbed that will watch the video. If that's you, when you do like the content or just want to support a fellow Mariners fan, hit that subscribe button. Let's see if maybe we can get somewhat close to that tonight. But thank you for all the support, regardless of if it's 50 subscribers or 5,000. I appreciate every single one of you. Again, this team kind of finds just different ways to win ball games. Tonight, they're shut out by a starting pitcher. They look kind of lifeless at the plate. They still find a way to get 5 runs. The pitching is rounding into form. Luis Castillo was dominant today. A great start, and I know that's not a good White Sox lineup. That's still a really impressive start for Castillo tonight. They did hit some balls hard early on against him, and he was able to settle in and keep him off the board to the point where 1-0 might have held up if Troy Taylor didn't pitch in that 9th inning. That's an excellent outing from Castillo, following up a fantastic outing against the Yankees. And again, if your takeaway is, well, the White Sox stink, he shut him out for 7 innings. I mean, what more can you do? That's what you're supposed to do against bad teams, is beat them and find a way. And Castillo did that and was phenomenal. The offense kind of frustrating through the first 8 innings, I'm not going to lie. But it was a cold, dampy, kind of lifeless night in Chicago. Like I said, it was cold out there, and that's not a great White Sox team, so not a lot of people showing up to the ballpark. And the Mariners, listen, you'd still rather play a bad team than a good team, but you can feed off crowd energy a little bit even when you're on the road. So probably tough to kind of get that momentum going there. And honestly, it was the White Sox hitting balls harder early on. Baseball just kind of dying out there. So, I don't know how much of it was the Mariners just struggling. Then they were able to get some runs against the bullpen. And, again, Davis Martin threw the ball well. Sometimes you do have to tip your cap to the pitcher. I don't really care when you get the runs as long as you're finding a way. They still managed to put up 5 runs. By the way, in this road trip now, they've won 5-1, 4-1, 6-1, and 5-1. Only allowed 4 runs so far in 4 games on this road trip. Again, I'm repeating myself from yesterday, but this is the games that we needed them to win, right? This is perfect. 5 runs when Castillo is dialed in. Excellent. Don't really care if it's in the 3rd inning or the 8th inning. You find that way to get 1 big inning there and then sprinkle in another run somewhere, you're in good shape. Again, repeating myself, but how many times last year? Wow, Logan went 7 innings, 1 earned run, no decision. Wow, Kirby 6 innings, no earned runs and lost. Wow, Brian Wu 6 1/3, 2 earned runs, lost. We had a lot of those. When you're able to put up 5 runs, you're going to avoid that if your starters are dialed in. Obviously, as we've seen this year, your starters aren't always going to be locked in. And as we've seen this year as well, your offense isn't always going to be locked in. But they're still finding ways, even when it's not their night necessarily. And that's baseball, right? Over 162, you're going to be a little off. Sometimes another pitcher throws the ball well. I thought Martin pounded the strike zone. The Mariners didn't get any hard contact against him for the most part. And like I said, he wasn't walking guys, so you couldn't get that pitch count up. Hope to put a few balls in play and make something happen. And to their credit, they did, right? Like, they chased him with a base hit in the 8th. They found a way to scratch out a run in the 3rd. And, it was enough to get the job done. So, there's definitely things we can talk about with this team. Again, they're not perfect by any means, but they're playing great baseball. It's hard to be frustrated with them right now. Even though, yes, the first 7-8 innings had frustrations, it's just hard overall to get, really worked up about it. And, Cal had a bad night. A couple bad days in a row for Cal. Cal's fine. It's not something where this lineup I just think is dreadful and guys aren't performing. And it's like, well, these are bad baseball players that aren't performing. Some of their good players just didn't quite have it tonight. It happens. And they still found a way to get the win. They took advantage of the situations they had. Julio hits the grand slam. And yeah, that's one swing, but that's a big one, right? That's why with the bases loaded, you can do damage. You can change a game on a dime. It was a game that truthfully at 1-0 just kind of, I'm sitting there going, man, I just feel like a bloop and a blast is coming from the White Sox. And the Mariners were able to get the big hit on their side and open it up and make it kind of a non-stressful game overall, except a little bit in the ninth inning. One thing I'm going to do a little bit different here for these recaps going forward, just kind of re-listening to them. I want to do a scoring recap and go over how the team scored. Maybe I should do that before my kind of summary of it. But I'm going to do that going forward just to get, if maybe you didn't watch the game or didn't get to follow it, gives you a little sense of what happened in this one. I'm not going to go over play-by-play, but I will go over the scoring plays. In the top of the third, Jorge Polanco singled on a ground ball to right field. That scored Ben Williamson. In the eighth, Julio hit a grand slam. That made it 5-0. And in the bottom of the ninth, Andrew Vaughn singled for the White Sox, which scored Chase Mydroth. I want to say Meredith. My dyslexia kicks in there when I read that name, and I just want to say Meredith, but it's Mydroth. That name is going to drive me nuts all season. But he singled, and that was your scoring recap. That's how the runs were scored in this game. So 3 hits in this game produced 6 runs, essentially. But a good win for the Seattle Mariners, and one they kind of needed to get. Tomorrow, you're going to have Casey Lawrence is going to be up. I'm going to assume Troy Taylor is going down, which, it should happen. So you're probably going to have a Jonathan Diaz, Casey Lawrence hybrid start a little bit, where each of them is probably going to go 3 innings, something around along those lines. I don't expect them to shut the White Sox out. If they can get out of that with giving up 2 or 3 earned runs, you can turn it over to Spire, Brash, Vargas, Legumina, Munoz, and maybe get the W here. But really wanted to get this one because I felt like this is, in this series, Castillo is your best pitcher going. Evans was fantastic in San Diego, but there's still some nerves there. These are still guys that are unproven, and Diaz and Lawrence, to their credit, I think are fine, 6-7 starters, but they could get beat up. It wouldn't be the craziest thing if they struggled. So good to get this one. And then hopefully you can find a way to win one more. They're talking about the weather. I guess a chance tomorrow gets rained out. Hopefully not, because I don't think you want to have a doubleheader right before your Houston trip. And then that really eats up your bullpen in those 2 games. So I'd prefer it just get played tomorrow. One nice thing with the doubleheader is, usually doubleheaders seem to be split. So almost feel like it would get you a series win there in the doubleheader at least. So there'd be that. But hopefully they're able to get the game in tomorrow and keep it going. And yeah, this team just wins different ways, right? Like, we've seen the offense just go crazy from the first inning on and dominate. We've seen the pitching be really good at times, especially recently. We've seen it where the offense has struggled, but just found ways. And that was kind of tonight, right? Overall, probably not their best offensive performance, but found a way. And again, I'll leave on this before I get into the box score. A game where we probably, if we're just being honest, right? Like, filters off. Mariners offense kind of pathetic for 7 innings. Again, I'll give, Davis Martin credit. But in a day where they looked dreadful, they still scored 5 runs. We have not been able to say that a lot over the last few years. Let's get into the box score. Castillo just phenomenal. 7 innings, 3 hits, no runs, no earned runs, no walks, 5 Ks. His ERA is down to 3.2. But I know it's easy to say, well, it's the White Sox, but Castillo has struggled on the road at times. This is a hitter's ballpark, and it was a cold, damp day. Castillo deserves credit. That fastball he threw to Slater at 97, that 2-seamer that just ran in on him, or 4-seamer that just hit, I don't know what it was, but that was nasty. Castillo again, remember 2 years ago against the White Sox, he threw like 47 straight fastballs. Kind of did that again tonight at 1.3, I think 29 straight fastballs. He was fantastic tonight. Castillo did throw 94 pitches. Someone mentioned they'd like to hear me mention the pitch counts a little bit more. I will do that for the starters on both ends. Castillo threw 94 pitches, 64 for strikes. Fantastic outing from Luis Castillo, and he has really stepped up. I know there were some tough starts in there. Cincinnati wasn't great, and was it Toronto where he got hit a lot but didn't give up a ton of runs? And then Toronto again in Seattle. He wasn't great, but was fantastic against the Yankees and good here today. He's got a 3.2 ERA. I do think Castillo has spoiled us a little bit. He is still a really good pitcher. I don't know if we're going to see that 2022 guy that pitched in that playoff game against Toronto again, but you don't need to see him again because you've got Gilbert, you've got Kirby coming back, you've got Brian Wu. Castillo can be a 2, a 3 in that range, and that is absolutely fine. Great performance for Castillo. Fine taking him out after 7 innings, especially after the grand slam by Julio. I thought Colin Snyder really threw the ball well in the 8th inning. Didn't give up a hit, a run, no walks, 2 Ks. Kind of a good role for Snyder there. Not trying to apply just in 5-run games he should pitch, but we saw what Troy Taylor did in the 9th, right? Made it a little bit iffy, made it a little nerve-wracking. Colin Snyder is good enough that you don't have to worry in those situations. He's not your highest of high leverage, but he can get you through those innings and get you the W. So, Snyder's a guy that I like in kind of those 3-4 run games. Maybe you're down a run or two. He keeps you in the game. I think Dan is finally getting everybody's role defined here. I think he's managed the bullpen a lot better over the last few weeks. And it sometimes takes time as a manager. You're trying to find what everybody's role is, what they're best at, what part of the lineup they're best at facing. I think Dan has settled in and done a real nice job, and Snyder was fantastic today. Troy Taylor struggled 2/3 of an inning, 2 hits, 1 run. It was earned, 2 walks, no Ks. Listen, I will say in his defense, he was squeezed on those first 2 pitches. Kind of weird on a 5-0 game that the ump tightened up the zone a little bit. But Taylor was not good. That is a bad White Sox lineup. And the fact that the tying run even came to the plate. And here's the danger, right? Like, no, it's not a good White Sox lineup, but Michael A. Taylor's hit some home runs. Like Munoz hangs a slider there, and that game could have been tied. I'm not going to harp on Taylor too much. He's going to be headed back to Tacoma. He needs to stay down there, work on some stuff, get right, and then come back here, maybe in September, something later. Like, he's just not right. The stuff doesn't look terrible. He's hitting 96, 97. He just has no idea where it's going right now, to be honest. And the breaking ball is just kind of going right down the middle of the pipe there. It would have been nice if he could have finished it off there, but, I'm not, again, I hope he gets it right because he was a big part of this bullpen last year. And it'd be a real nice little addition to a bullpen that I do think will need a little help at the deadline if you could get Taylor right, but I just don't have the faith in it right now. So, like I said, not going to harp on it because he'll be in Tacoma tomorrow. Munoz gets the save, throws 4 pitches to strike out Michael A. Taylor. I recorded this video twice. I don't know if I already said it, but it's like Munoz came in and was like, fine, I'll just finish this off. Boom, boom, boom. All right, fine. Let's get out of here. Let's go home. Let's hit the buffet and let's call this good. Munoz should be good to go tomorrow still. However, now, this is nitpicking. What I'm doing here is called nitpicking. But this is 2 games in a row now where Bizzardo couldn't finish it. Well, not true. Bizzardo did finish it off. Bizzardo walks the first 2 guys. Taylor does it tonight. Yesterday, Munoz had to get up. Now, Bizzardo was able to finish it. And tonight, Taylor was not able to finish it. I hate that in a 5-run game, the night that Munoz has had to get up and throw, right? Like, it's not a big deal. Not like Munoz has been overused or anything like that. It's just kind of one of those little annoying things. And now if Munoz pitches tomorrow, he might be down on Thursday. So it's just little things that can come back to bite you. Again, I'm nitpicking. It's a great win for the team. And sometimes that happens, right? That's why you have a weapon like Andres Munoz back there to be able to get through those things. But that is a little bit frustrating. But if the most frustrating thing we've had with this team in the last week is that they had a little bit trouble finishing off a 5-run lead in the 9th, good first world baseball problems, I would say, on that one. So let's get into the offensive box score. Mariners do get 8 hits in this game, 3 walks, 5 runs. I mean, again, despite Davis Martin kind of owning them, they find a way. They got to Boozer and put up 3 runs against him. Thought they had a chance to add on against Gomez, loaded the bases in the 9th. That would have been great. Again, I'm harping on it, but if you'd scored 2 or 3 more runs there, then Taylor would have been able to finish that off, no problem. But it is what it is. J.P. Crawford, guess what I'm going to say. And this is legit today. Really quietly on base 3 times. I don't remember any Mariner reaching base in the first 7 1/3 of this game. So the fact that JP reached 3 times is really impressive. I think he had 2 walks in the 8th and 9th. And he had that hit in the 3rd inning. That's what it was. So, hey, quietly nice game again from JP. Polanco 1 for 3 with the RBI single. you know what? Good for Mitch Garver. 1 for 2. I know I feel like I'm praising Garver a lot, but that was a huge base hit in front of Julio there. We've seen Garver ground in some tough double plays, gets the line drive hit, loads him up. Julio finishes it off there with the grand slam. That was a pivotal hit there by Garver in a big spot in that 1-0 game. Would have loved to seen him do something with the bases loaded in the ninth, would have really completed it. But again, like I say with Garver a lot, right? 2 at-bats, had a base hit, and was on base half of his at-bats. So nice job there by Garver. I will say a little concerning. It looks like Polanco is back to not swinging right-handed. I don't know if I talked about this a couple nights ago, but in Sacramento, he played second base and started against the lefty and hit right-handed. And now he's back to just DHing and hitting left-handed. Maybe again, they're just doing it very sparingly with Polanco. And Dan maybe even talked about it. I didn't look up what he said. Like I said, maybe they're just being very careful, and like once a month, they're going to give him some at-bats against the lefty just to keep him fresh. But a little concerning there. I do think Garver's done an okay job as sort of Polanco's backup. I don't know what you'd call it there. But, definitely I'm okay with it because the team's rolling, but definitely something you'd like to kind of see. And it would be nice if Polanco could play second base occasionally, not expecting much defensively, but just enough to sort of lengthen this lineup. Then Cal can DH, Garver catches, or vice versa. You can DH Demo against the lefty. You can do a lot of different things with this lineup if Polanco can occasionally play second base. Julio 1 for 4. It was a big one, the grand slam in the eighth inning. The Mariners now have 4 grand slams on the year. Julio tonight, Cal against Texas. What were the other 2? Why can't I remember? Guys, help me out. What were the other 2 grand slams this year? Oh my gosh, I had it too. I knew it. No, it was Julio, Cal. Why am I not remembering? And now it's going to bother me. This is going to bother me the rest of the show. I am so sorry that I even tried to say it. I thought I knew him too. I was like, oh, I've got him, and now I can't remember. Cal, Julio. 2 minutes of Jay pausing and just thinking, oh, come on. Who were the other 2 grand slams? Trivia question for what did JP? I don't think JP hit a grand slam. I don't think Polanco hit one either. Rowdy Tellez. Rowdy hit one in Toronto. And I feel like the other one was like super random or something. It wasn't Tavares. Tavares hasn't homered as a Mariner. Rowdy, Cal, Julio, Randy against Houston. Okay, there we go. Gosh, I'm sorry you guys had to sit through that. Where was I even? Oh, Julio. Cal 0 for 4. A little bit of a couple of tough games for Cal, but not worried. Randy 0 for 4. Rowdy 0 for 3. Did work a walk. Hey, got the pitch count up a little bit there. Leote 0 for 4. Dylan Moore was 1 for 4. Nice game for Ben Williamson. 3 for 4, 2 runs scored. I know one of the hits wasn't exactly crushed, but it helped lead to a run. It's a good example of why I'm not necessarily like a huge, oh my gosh, they struck out. But good things can happen when you put in play. Ben Williamson, a good example of that. And a couple other hits. And he got the rally start in the eighth. I gave Garver credit for keeping it going. Ben Williamson got that started and knocked Davis Martin out of this baseball game and allowed the Mariners to really add on and put this one to bed. So real nice game for Williamson. I thought he had a couple nice defensive plays too. He had one throw that was a little iffy, but Rowdy dug it out. So no worries. But a real nice game for Williamson. It'd be nice to see. Again, doesn't have to slug a ton. Just do this. I'm not expecting 3 for 4 every game, but just find a way, a hit, a double, something like that, just to get the line, keep it moving a little bit. So real nice game for Ben at the bottom of that lineup. Great win for the Mariners. I mean, again, kind of sound like a broken record. Last 4 games have all been the same. Really good pitching and offense doing enough. Keep it going tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be a tough one. If there's a team you can beat with Diaz and Casey Lawrence, it's probably the White Sox. But, it's still a Major League Baseball team, so it's not going to be easy, to get through it. But hopefully they can find a way, and then you're set up pretty well for the sweep. And then it's George Kirby time in Houston. So this team just continues to roll. I will remind everybody, enjoy it. Don't be made to feel bad if you're having fun watching this baseball team. It's okay. You can be both skeptical and enjoying it at the same time. That is 2 emotions that are okay to have. Because guess what, guys and gals? I'm the same way. I'm still skeptical. Guys, if you've watched Mariners baseball for more than a year, you should be skeptical of Mariners baseball. But it's also okay to have fun with this and admit that this team is pretty good. I think this is a good baseball team. Question is going to be how good. Are they good enough to win the West? I think they are. I absolutely think they are. I don't know if they will, but I think they are good enough. Have a great night, everybody. Like, comment. Let's get to 5,000 tonight. Let's make it happen. Come on, you can do it. And as always, Go Mariners, I appreciate you all as well. Thank you all so much for watching these and being on this journey with me because, I know I get a lot of nice comments and I appreciate it all from all of you. But I really do appreciate all of you as well because you guys and girls, sorry, get me through it, right? Like I get to vent to all of you. And like I said, my channel's all about we're sitting at the bar, hanging out, having a beer. That's why sometimes I'm all over the place because that's sports, right? That's part of the fun. You win a game, you're kind of hitting each other and having some fun with it. And it's okay to be kind of all over the place. We're excited. That's okay. Enjoy it. Go Mariners. Take care, everybody. Peace.